Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your host, Mike31. Welcome to day 173 of Major League Baseball. We have a little over a week left of the regular season, and in the postseason, we got some exciting, tight races. So we're here to continue. There's money to be made, so we'll continue to make videos to help you go out and do that. A lot of things going on now in the fall here. We got the NFL going on and started to do some videos for that. So good reason to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. You'll know when our videos are coming out, and I will be doing one for San Francisco and the Giants showdown slate tonight. So nice 7-game slate tonight. No weather concerns. So we'll talk about who's in, who's got stuff to play for, what to look at, and let's build some lines here. So first game we have is the Toronto Blue Jays and New York Yankees. We have Barrios and Garrett Cole. I think both are in play here. Barrios is really good against righties. He's better at home than away, and like this is definitely a park downgrade for him, but I think he'll be fine here. Besides Judge, who hits righties and lefties equally as well. Austin Wells, who had a home run last night. Oswaldo Cabrera is a switch hitter, and Florel has some speed and power. There's really nobody in this lineup that really scares me too much. So I think Barrios is definitely in play here. Garrett Cole on the other side, I think is definitely probably a top pitcher on the slate if you can get to him, because you've got a lot of good hitters in some good spots that are expensive. So I figured out a couple ways to get to him, but I think the builds are more GPP than cash. So I get it. King went out and struck out like 13 last night, I think, or something. Yeah, crazy. Like that guy going from the bullpen. Like I think the Yankees have stumbled upon somebody that could definitely be a future starter for them. He's getting stretched out. Looks like he's got some really good stuff, and I'm super excited about that, especially because I have a Soler rare card of him as a relief pitcher that hopefully going forward I can use as a starting pitcher like we do with Strider. If you play, you know what I'm talking about. Bat wise here, I think Toronto's just gonna be leverage against Cole, and the Yankees are generally cheap against Barrios here, but again, I'd be focusing on like Wells and Florial and probably like Cabrera, just like the cheap fill-ins here. Maybe even like DJ LeMahieu, who's cheap at 3.7 as a fill-in, or Volpe. I don't think I'm going like full stack here at all. Just using some pieces to make my higher dollar lineups work out. Braves and Nationals, Max Fried and Jake Irvin. Fried, I think this is a great matchup here for him. However, they're 4 games up on the Dodgers. I don't think the Dodgers are going to catch them. They just really, I don't want to say their foot's off the gas, but I don't think they're going to be pushing on any of their players. So Fried's going to go out there. This is, again, probably a tune-up for the postseason to keep them going, keep them in a routine. I don't expect them to go super deep into this one. So I think it's risky to pay $10K for that, because I just think it's too expensive to do that. Urban on the other side is probably the biggest fade on the slate here. The Braves should absolutely tattoo him. Not a good pitcher at all, even though the wind's blowing in a little bit here, and it's a park downgrade. I think they'll be fine. So you can play anybody on the Braves here, honestly, whatever fits. You might need to take like a cheaper stack towards the bottom, and if you do that, like it's pretty reasonable. If you want to play Cole and play like Ozuna, Rosario, Murphy, Arcia, and Harris in your lineup, or maybe like throw one of the big bats and do like a wraparound thing or something like that. If you go like 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, that works too. Cunha, like even though he's banged up, he's been back in the lineup. He's chasing the 40-40 club. I think he's got 39 home runs and at least 40 stolen bases. So he's looking to try to get that home run. I think he'd be the 4th or 5th player in Major League Baseball history to do that. So it's kind of a cool achievement. I don't know if they count stats into the postseason like they do in like college football for like the bowls count towards regular season, but like if you get to 50-50, that'd be outstanding. And if he stays healthy next year, I mean, I think it's definitely in the realm of possibilities at some point. Washington on the other side, I know they put up like 13 runs yesterday against the Braves, and Elder just hasn't been a good pitcher, but Fried's a ground ball guy. I just really don't see a lot of these guys getting a lot of power against him. Definitely a contrarian stack or a cheap stack if you want to. Kind of forced to like take Michael Chavis in a couple lines because I needed like the cheapest second baseman possible. But at least he's got the split matchup, but I'm not expecting like great things out of that. So, and if you take a cheaper, lower like Washington stack that makes some other stacks work with like Cole and Braves in it. So I think Washington's in play here in GPPs as fill-ins, but I'm not taking them as a primary. Mets and Phillies, David Peterson and Ranger Suarez. David Peterson's the cheapest pitcher on the slate. He's bad, but he's not that bad. Like the Phillies have at times not shown up. It's 69 degrees, so it's not like it's 80 degrees there. The wind's blowing in. It's definitely a park upgrade going to Philly over the Mets. It'd be better if he was pitching at Citi Field. But I think if you need a cheap SP2 here, if you're trying to get up the Cole or Screwball, and play like Braves or Philly or Dodger, well, I want to play Philly because that make no sense whatsoever against the pitcher that's pitching against them. But I think you have to consider him here on DK and FanDuel. I don't think you need to. Ranger Suarez on the other side, I think is a really great play too. He's 7,900, which is not bad at all. And against this Mets lineup, they're just really kicking the tires on some of these newer guys. I know Vientos had a couple of home runs yesterday, and Mauricio's moved up in the lineup and it's been hitting really good. And you still have like Alonso out there, and it's a righty against a lefty. So I definitely like the Mets as a leverage stack here, but I think I really like Ranger Suarez as a pitcher also. In the mid range, I think playing him versus some of these like guys in the high and even if like we'll get to it in the next game, if you like start your lineup with like Suarez and Grayson Rodriguez, I think that's our two solid pitchers in good matchups on teams that are playing for the playoffs that are going to leave their pitchers out there if they're doing well because they want to rest their bullpen because they can't afford to lose games. I know the Philly lead the wild card, but they want to have the home field advantage in the wild card. I don't think that they're in danger of falling to the out of the wild card or down to the third place where they'd have to play a divisional team. But I think you still want to keep your foot on the gas to finish first in the wild card race to be able to have that home field advantage for it. So they're definitely have stuff to play for. And I really like Philly as my second stack. And if you take the price of the Braves out and the fact that the Braves have clinched, I think Philly and Baltimore are the two best stacks on the slate for things that people have to play for. So give me the righties here, Turner, Baum, Real Muto. Castellanos had 2 home runs yesterday. I hate that he's hitting like further on down 6th or 7th in the order, but I mean, he's still being productive. So I'm fine with that. And then you got some cheapy pieces there with Pache, who was a huge prospect. He was like the number 1 prospect for the Braves last year. And then he got kicked out to Oakland in a trade and just kind of disappeared. And I just, maybe at some point, like if you're looking for a punt and outfield, like at one point this guy was highly touted, like maybe it manifests itself in a game sometimes and it helps you take down a GPP. So not saying it's a priority to play him or a must, but if you're struggling to find a cheap punt outfielder and you have 2.3, throw him in. Baltimore and Cleveland Guardians, Grayson Rodriguez and Hunter Gaddis. Grayson Rodriguez, I really like here. I think has as much upside, especially I know Cleveland doesn't have a lot of strikeouts. But I think Grayson Rodriguez is the type of pitcher that can manufacture some of those strikeouts against a low strikeout team. But they don't have a lot of power either, other than Jose Ramirez. They really they have Calhoun throughout his career has had some power against right-handers and Naylor also, but we just aren't seeing them be like right-handed killers like they have been in the past. So I really like Grayson Rodriguez here. Again, it's not 80 degrees, it's 72 degrees. The wind's blowing in 8 miles per hour. It's a neutral hitting park, but it's a park downgrade because Baltimore moved the walls back. So they made that into a pitcher's park. So, but I think Rodriguez is fine here. Gaddis, I'm not touching. Orioles, I think maybe you could even play him in cash, but I definitely was my favorite GPP here. Gunnar Henderson, Rushman, Santander, they're all switch hitters, lefties up top. O'Hearn, Mullins. Hicks is banged up. I don't know, but if Heston Kjerstad is in, this guy's got a ton of power as a lefty, and I don't care where he is in the lineup at 2.8. He really gives you a lot of salary break, almost like 2K versus like some of the other ones that you might throw in there. Like for Mullins, like the difference there is 1.9K. I mean, that can go a long way in this slate, especially with like some decent high-end pitchers here. So if he's in the lineup, then definitely somebody to consider. Cleveland on the other side, I really have no use for them here. If you're playing 150 max, of course you're gonna probably stack them and have some pieces. Probably just the lefties here, but Rodriguez has been solid since he came back up from the minors, and actually he's just had some electric stuff. So I'm not touching any Guardians tonight, probably. Pittsburgh and Chicago Cubs last night turned into what almost looked like uh, um, a football game. So we had the Pirates, we had the Cubs. Almost looked like it was the Steelers and the Bears, like with their offenses. I think maybe the Pirates and the Cubs could outscore them. But anyways, Oviedo, he started out the season pretty strong, but just like the whole Pittsburgh team's kind of fallen off as reality set in and things level set themselves. The wind's going to be blowing in at about 10 miles per hour, so that does help pitching. So is he in play if you need a cheapie at 7K? That's fine. I think you take Hendricks on the other side. Hendricks doesn't really get any Ks, but he goes deep enough in the game that I think he should be able to be okay. And, in a GPP, if you're playing him in one of the lower price pitchers, then, that helps open up some salary to get some bats for you. But Pittsburgh, I think you can definitely play them. They're going to go really lefty heavy on the top with Bay, Reynolds, Swinsky, Palacios. Key Brian Hayes is fine, righty on righty there. Andy Rodriguez is switch hitter. So Rivera's is still like revenge. He was a Cub last year and he's hit some righties well. So you're probably only going to see like 2 or 3 righties in this lineup against Hendricks. So Pittsburgh's definitely in play as a stack or cheap fill-ins. And Cubs, I think, they're definitely also in play here, but I don't like the wind. I do like some of the, I think if like a mini stack here of like Talkman, if he leads off, Happ and Bellinger, the guys that have the splits against them, because he's been good against righties. Maybe Masterbone at the bottom. There's another cheap outfielder too if you need somebody at 2-3 to do. If you want to do like a wraparound stack there that you can probably get 4 in there, just do Masterbone, Talkman, Happ and Bellinger. And besides Bellinger, that stack's really not too expensive. So if you build it with another 4-4 stack, you can probably get decent pitchers and make a pretty solid line there. Okay, moving on to the next game, Detroit and the Athletics. So we have Schoolball here and Medina. Schoolball has just been really good recently. It's a great matchup. 9-6, you get a nice price break over some of the higher priced pitchers on the slate that probably can score just as many points. Like Oakland, obviously does have a little bit of right-handed power, just like in Geloff, but in Rooker. But other than that, really not super excited about them. Medina on the other side, like Detroit hasn't been good. Medina has been average. So he's definitely in play here at 6-6. If you are trying to play Braves, if you're trying to play Dodgers, you're trying to play Philly, and you want to try to get Cole or Schoolball in your lineup, you might end up on a Medina here. And I don't absolutely hate it. And on FanDuel, I had to drop down in one of my lines to get the stack that I wanted of Braves. So and that was even like mixing in with like some other cheap bats. So it just pricing's tight on some of these higher priced teams in good spots. So Medina is not someone that I'm absolutely like shouting from the mountaintops that we need to go out and put him in our lines, but I don't hate it. I think between there's a risk between Oviedo and Medina and Peterson, but just their price tag just makes some things work. So Detroit bats, I think, are definitely my favorite cheap stack against Medina, but just limited with the lefties here. So I'm taking McKinstry. Torkelson's fine, righty on righty. Carpenter, and then Badu, he just kind of disconnected from the stack. But Parker Meadows has a lot of talent too. Just hasn't really shown it, but I mean, at some point, like Pache, hopefully it can come together and see it. But it's another cheaper left-handed bat at 3K. I wish it was more like 2-3, 2-4, but again, at least it's not like 4K, so it's a little bit of savings there. And like I said, with the A's, if we want to take the righties here, if Schoolball's going to be the chalk pitcher on the slate, which he could, and you want to go like Geloff here and Calme Diaz, Rooker, Jordan Diaz, like Langer Lears has had some spots where he's had some power. Do a wraparound with Ruiz on the bottom. Maybe they'll lead off Ruiz, and he's got the speed there. And if he can get on and steal a couple bases, then Giloff hits a home run. I mean, that's definitely a nice night for you there. So not a ton that I like here, but probably again, if I had to, I'd like Ruiz, Giloff, and Rooker, and maybe one of the Diaz's to make a little mini stack there. Final game of San Francisco and the Dodgers. Kyle Harrison and Emmett Sheehan is supposed to open, and then Yarbrough is supposed to come in to relieve. So Harrison is 9.1. He's been so bad recently. The Dodgers, even though they probably aren't going to catch the Braves and have the division wrapped up, have been playing pretty much full strength. So we'll have to see what they roll out here. They've got a really nice total, but again, like, are they going to get pitch hit for? Are they only going to be out there for a couple at bats before they, bring some of the other guys in just to keep people fresh and rotated and rested for the playoffs that are coming up? So, they want them to be able to get a couple at bats to get some timing, but it almost turns into like the last games of spring training versus, real, like, true regular season games. So Sheehan I'm not touching, but Yarbrough coming in after him is a really good strikeout pitcher. The Giants have really struggled against left-handed pitching just because most of their power hitters are left-handed. The righties aren't as good in some aspects when it comes to hitting against left, which you would think they'd be fine, but they're just statistically not. So bat wise, like the Giants, I'd probably avoid because we don't know how long Sheen's going to go. Like he could go like 1 inning and the Yarbrough comes, he could go 2, he could go 3. They could do like a 4-4 split and then just bring in like a closer or at the end. So it's just kind of risky to know the bats, but I think they make an awesome GPP play. So knowing that a lefty's coming in following a righty, that's what we think the plan is. Like, you don't know for sure. That's what they say is going to happen, but once the game happens, you don't have the guarantee that Yarbrough is actually physically some point going to come into the game. It's all what the plan is supposed to be. So the lefties, probably going to get pinch hit for. I would stick with the righties if I'm building a Giants. And if you're playing in like if there's a showdown for it and checking that, but or if you're playing like if like a huge upside GPP like for like $1 or something and like 150 max, then throw in some of the right-handed batters there on the bench. So if JD Davis doesn't start this game, then throw him in there. Or if Slater doesn't start the game, then throw him in there. Because that as soon as the lefty comes in, some of these left-handed batters like Peterson and probably Lamont Wade are going to get pinch hit for with a righty, and then that they're not going to be available to come back into the game to repinch hit for the righty if another lefty comes in. So they probably might end up with more at bats. They're going to have no ownership because people aren't going to play them because they're not in the lineup. So this is like game theory here. If you want to try to take down a showdown GPP, then sprinkle a couple of those guys in, or like in like $1 stack. And if Yarbrough doesn't have it and they just like completely light them up, then you've got such a huge advantage. Again, this is like a very, very risky strategy. I'm not saying do this in your cash lineup or anything, but it's just something to think about in an opportunity to take advantage of stuff that people might not be thinking about tonight. On the Dodgers side of it, again, I'd probably stick to the righties. Betts should play the whole game. Smith, JD Martinez, Rosario might get in there. Chris Taylor's usually really good against lefties. Ricky Hernandez used to be, but he's just kind of washed up in there. And Rojas, I just probably wouldn't touch those two. So if I'm going like a right-handed stack, then give me Betts, Smith, Martinez, Rosario, and Taylor. If Freddie Freeman or Muncy, if they fit in your line, lefty and lefty, I'm fine with, because Harrison's probably not going to last that long. And they're probably going to right-hander out of the bullpen. So let's look at some builds to get you on your way for your day. So give me Schoolball and give me the Orioles and Detroit here. So Rushman and Torkelson, Gunnar Henderson at third. You can also play him at shortstop. And the line I built, I have him at third. Because remember, here I'm probably punting second base and ending up in Chavis at 2-2. And then Carpenter, Kerstad, and then if you want to go like Badu there in an outfield spot, or if you want to go like Santander or O'Hearn also works there as a lefty. I think this is where I'm going to take Scooble. I'm going to build my line, and then I'm going to figure out where I land for SP2 and try to get in like Suarez, G-Rod, or Hendricks. Hope that I don't have to drop down to Medina, Oviedo, or Peterson in cash. You can get Cole in here. You have to play Cole Peterson in this build. You still have to take Chavis or some really cheap second baseman, but you can make it work. And only have one off and get a Detroit and Baltimore stack that you like. But those core players are what I like. It's a little bit easier on FanDuel. Give me Schoolball, give me Torkelson, and then give me right-handed Philly bats. I can get Baum, Turner, Castellanos in there, Carpenter. I can get a couple other, one other Tiger, one other Philly in there, and then I think I ended up with 4 Phillies, 3 Tigers, and one off there, and the one off that fit into the lineup I really didn't hate. So for GPP, if you want to get the full Brave stack in there of Olsen, Albies, Acuna, Riley, and then Harris, Ozuna, or Rosario, then you have to take Hendricks, Yarbrough, or Medina with Peterson. You're really sacrificing pitching, but if you think that this game is just going to go off and the Braves put up a crooked number, which they absolutely could in this situation, then, load up on the best Braves bats. I like Wells is a cheap catcher at 2.4K that you can take there that has a splits advantage. And like say you hit a home run yesterday, you hit a lot of home runs in the minor league. It just hasn't shown in the Major League Baseball, but this is a good matchup, and maybe you could hit another one tonight. And then just look for some cheap fill-ins for the rest of your line, like people we talked about throughout the video. And then finally, for the FanDuel GPP, I know there's a lot on here, but I really love this build. I can get the Braves and I can get Baltimore in on FanDuel and the players that I want. If I take G-Rod as my pitcher, Rushman, Albies, Riley, Henderson, Kershtab, and Santander, and then I just have to pick who my third piece is. They're all in the same price range, or fourth piece for the Braves. They're all in the same price range of Zuna, Harris, and Rosario, and that leaves you about 2.1 to maybe 2.4K punt. Throw anybody in there. If the rest of the lineup carries you, that last position piece doesn't matter. If that person does hit like a random home run or something, then you are just sailing along. So that's what I got for you today. Just remember, stay tuned for the NFL video that's going to come out for Showdown today. So I appreciate you watching as always. And if you want more information on FSi DFS, you can look into the description of the video, and there's a link to get to our website there. And if you have any questions, just still always put them in the chat below. Hit me up at MegaRoar31 on Twitter/X. And the other thing too is, if we've helped you, you've already helped us by watching this far into the video. But if you want to go a little bit further, like the video, subscribe to our channel so you know when videos are coming out, and share with your friends. So good luck in your contest. Hope you have an amazing Thursday leading into a weekend. Thanks for still watching Major League Baseball and playing, and there's still money to be made. So we'll continue to grind this out to the end of the season. So I'll see you next time.